All right, first and foremost, I want to thank you for joining in on this awesome webinar. We have a lot of content ahead. We've compiled a wealth of details on browser push notifications, why it's relevant for your business, and how you boost your least engagement using it. To tell you a little bit about myself, I am Richard, the co-founder and CEO of VBOUT.com. This picture was actually taken yesterday from our New York City meetup. We had a full-on meetup with about 70 people discussing browser push notifications. So we really jumped into the topic and we discussed all the stuff we're going to do now. So I've appended all the great feedback that I've had from the awesome attendees. So our community in New York City is about 10,000 active members. And every month we do a meetup where we educate people on the latest trends and latest releases in marketing technology, marketing topics, and so on. All this content is normally recycled, so we share them via our blog, we share them on our social media, and we also sometimes recycle them on SlideShare and so on. So we really strive to educate, and it's one of our ways to thank you guys and contribute to the community. Now, when I'm not building the community, which I've done so over the past 8 years, I work on VBOUT. It's almost my 24/7 joy. And I'll tell you a little bit about what VBOUT is. So VBOUT is an all-in-one, powerful, and easy-to-use marketing automation. The average marketer nowadays use 6 to 8 tools to get their marketing campaigns running, and that creates a little of a logistical nightmare where all the data is fragmented. There's a learning curve across all these different tools, obviously. And not to mention, it can run a high tab as you grow. All these tools are great, but the problem remains the fragmentation of these tools. The other option is to use other all-in-one tools, which can run you a little bit, be a little hard on the pocket, a little kind of bulky to set up, and a huge commitment from a small company that's starting up to grow. So this is why VBOUT came to life. So what we're going to do today is go over the browser push notifications. What are the browser push notifications? Benefits of using them for your business. What are the mistakes to avoid? Innovative ways to using them, and also we'll have a Q&A session and getting started with VBOUT. So if anybody's interested in using VBOUT to increase their lead generation, lead nurture, I'll have one of our success managers who are on standby to book a date with you guys, at least an online, productive, getting to your goals date. Perfect, so let's get started. So what are browser push notifications? Pretty sure most of you have seen these at least in the last 24 hours about 3-4 times. They're all over now. More and more companies are deploying them. And all they are is just an additional channel of communicating with the end customer. It's not using email. It's not using an SMS. All it's doing is communicating with your browser. And I'm gonna explain to you how. So generally speaking, the way it starts is you be browsing a website, and suddenly you'll get a browser, an authentication or a prompt that asks you to allow this website to communicate with you. Okay. And technically speaking, some companies skip the first prompt, which is this one. This is the permission prompt. And they display this basic browser default notification. So many times you don't even know why this is showing up. Many people also confuse it with the geolocation prompt, this one right here, because again, it's using a default browser behavior. There's no way for you to control it. And if you accept and allow, the company or the site that you're on will be able to push to your browser notifications that look something similar to this. So as you can see, it's a very short message. I'm going to jump into the anatomy of it. It has an image on the top, a logo, title, some description, and a call to action. Okay. So to just step back a little bit, it is a way to communicate with your browser by asking the user for permission to do so. If the user allows, the website will be able to send notifications. If the user declines, you won't be able to do so. So you're considered, they'll block your permission technically. So jumping in a little bit into the technology, once somebody authorizes the permission, a few things happen from the endpoint. So once you click allow, the person's endpoint is gonna actually store 3 different variables, which is, let's call it the browser address, and different types of authentication, right? And this is how these companies will be able to push these messages to you, by knowing these end variables that they store once you actually approve that permission. This is just an under the hood stuff. You definitely don't need to know this if you are simply implementing it. So jumping into the anatomy of what a browser push is, or what it consists of, typically speaking, you have a title, which is, it can be a default, it could be the title of an article, it could be the title of like a cart abandonment with a product name or something like that. Below it, you'll see the body of the message. You'll also have a logo or a picture. So you can put a picture, you can put an animated GIF that shows up in here. Unfortunately, as of now, no video. And then you have the link if somebody clicks anywhere in this grid right here. Okay. So if anyone clicks here, it's going to take them directly to the destination URL, which you will actually provide on here. Okay. Now, there is actually the second image here. Some browsers, like Chrome on a PC and on your phone, on Android, supports additional call to actions. So this is the advanced options, as you see here. It includes a header image. So this is a little bit more real estate for you to kind of display a message across. And you can also include 2 call to actions on the footer. So this is great because you can now direct people to 3 different URLs. One of them is they click in the middle. One of them is if they click on this call to action, and finally, if they click on the second call to action. So the way this looks like on our system is actually like something like this. So the message can be controlled from here. Okay. VBOUT updates. This is the body of the message. So maybe we'll send you a push notification after with a link of the actual recording of that session. We'll definitely do that. We'll link it over to the video so you guys can download it, right? And the advanced option, as you can see here, is something like this. So I have 1 call to action here and 1 call to action here. Now, obviously, from a marketing perspective, having the liberty and the flexibility to include call to actions gives you the ability to actually test out more intent from the user, right? So this is why this option is great. But as a disclaimer, again, it only works on Chrome 56 Plus on Windows and Androids only. Okay. Now, notifications might appear slightly different on, let's say, a Safari Mac or Chrome Mac. They don't necessarily show up on the bottom of the screen. They could show up on the top right of the screen. So the positioning is slightly different, but the end goal is still the same. Perfect. So coming back to our presentation. So this is pretty much the anatomy of it. It's your playground, and this is per message. So every time you create a message, you can customize it accordingly. One cool thing we're experimenting with is the ability to insert within the browser push some dynamic coupon codes. So that's something that we're releasing soon, which is going to be pretty much pushing like a very quick offer via browser push. And we can talk about that after the webinar if you're interested in VBOUT. So this is a quick analysis of the industry usage. Obviously this technology started around 2013, so it's not new, but the adoption has been a little bit slow. There's a lot of underground activities when it comes to adopting browser push. Some people are using it to actually have clickbaits directing you elsewhere to generate clicks and generate revenue. Some companies or some companies are using it for the wrong reasons, whereas they're pushing too much promotional items and not useful items necessarily. And when I say items, it can be buy now options and things like that. And the industry, as you can see, the e-commerce have made a lot of good progress in browser push. We've seen better and better delivery of relevant messages. And then as you go up in the banking and finance, it becomes more personalized based on recent activities or fraud alerts and things like that. It is relatively undertapped in the market. Most people fear it because they think it's rocket science. However, it is not. It's rocket science at all. It's very simple. And there's a lot of end benefits, which I'll dive right into. So why is it relevant for your business? So we listed out about 9 different reasons, and you probably can think about a lot more. But starting from the increase of engagement when branching out to an additional channel of communication without being blind about it, meaning it's not only about delivering messages, it's about delivering the right message at the right time using the right channel. So that's pretty much what we always advise our clients to do. And browser push adds to that, and it stimulates user engagement by delivering instant messages directly to their browser, right? So this is extremely important. And one of the benefits is you're adding an additional channel of communicating with your users, regardless if they are on your website, regardless if they signed up to your blog, email updates, etc. The second reason we listed is engaging anonymous visitors. So most companies, rely on, tracking users across their anonymous IP and eventually converting them into an email. Now, there's one fundamental, if you want, gap in that, is that if somebody engages a lot, and most people right now, they do about 70% research on you and on your brand and the industry before they even give you any identifiable data. There is a little bit of a gap that you have so much data without having any point of contact with these people, right? And many are, a little wary to provide emails, especially that email marketing is getting more difficult, more spammy, and filters are getting more sophisticated. So this gives them an option to sign up to your site as an anonymous versus providing identifiable data, right? You can always reverse look up an email. There's so many websites that just by providing an email, you can get a load of information on a person. But if you're doing it, if you're doing a browser reverse lookup, there's no way for you to identify this person, to some extent, that is. So this is why a lot of people feel more comfortable knowing what they're signing up to, and I'm going to get to that, to engage via browser push versus providing an email. Now, re-engaging users and also user retention is extremely important. So this is huge in e-commerce industries, SaaS platforms to re-engage with users. It at least gives you flexibility to perhaps somebody leaving your shopping cart without completing a purchase. And if they had signed up to your browser push to get notifications saying you left something in your cart, come back and complete the purchase, right? And this can be personalized. If somebody is, showed or expressed an interest in your product and didn't complete the sign-up process, you can also send them, an offer to book an appointment with one of your success managers. So re-engaging users who are either, leaving before taking action, or even existing users who you want to reactivate is definitely a great way to do so. Another added benefit is that it works great on mobile devices. So not all companies have mobile devices, and not everybody can push to a mobile, an in-app looking message, right? This facilitates this to those websites, such as, let's say we don't have a mobile app. I can display on someone's mobile that message And if you opt in and you approve the permission, you can get those browser push that look exactly like an in-app push, right? You have the title, you have the body, and then you have 2 call to actions. So it simulates the mobile app in-app messaging experience. It definitely helps boost conversion rates. And I know there's tons of studies done on this. If you look up Push Crew and other leaders in the browser push space, you'll find a wealth of studies on this. But just like you drive or you activate your dead shopping carts or abandoned carts using email retargeting by I think the average is about 8% of those who leave your cart you can get reactivated. Similarly, it works with browser push. And so definitely it helps with conversion rates. And considering that you only can put 1 call to action or 2 call to actions, also helps converting this person into the destination. So I can call this pre-conversion, where I can send them to, let's say, my webinar page, and from my webinar page, if they fill out the form, that it will be the final conversion. So as far as user retention, this comes in as a more of a clear thing for everybody. Retaining your users using browser push, because they're interacting with you slightly differently, right? For marketers, we understand the technology to some extent. We've seen it a lot. We've deployed it. Some of you might have deployed it before. But for the majority of people, they have no idea what this is, and they have no idea how this works. So for those who do not know, this comes in as an innovative way to communicate with them if you've done the implementation properly. And I'm going to also discuss that in a bit. You can also maximize a little bit on the we call the abandonment rate for your homepage and other pages by giving the option for them to opt into something. Right? And I was preaching this yesterday that every industry is different. There's really no rule of thumb. But at the end of the day, every person needs to test this on their site. So we added this e-commerce company who deployed this for their newly launched website with literally like a couple of hundred visitors up till today. And so far, they've collected an upward of about 30% opt-ins to their browser push. I know these are very small numbers when it comes to the visit count, but from retention and opt-in perspective, these ratios are extremely high. You also have the ability to reach users across different browsers. So, if you have a Chrome, Safari, Firefox, Internet Explorer, they do support this technology. So if, obviously these are the major browsers. So you can get to a wide range of users regardless of their browser. Also, it ensures timely delivery. So for instance, if I had my computer, if I don't have my browser active and somebody pushed a notification to me, it gets in a queue or goes inside a queue where it gets delivered at the end of the day as soon as I open my browser, right? So the delivery mechanism is extremely reliable, and it really gets delivered as soon as the browser is active and the queue has been triggered. And you can see here, unlike email, it goes into either you get a message on the bottom right or at the top right in some cases, or if you have some sort of a snooze option, it goes in on the notifications panel of your browser. So on this image you see on the right, actually all the notifications that I have throughout the day are aggregated, and then I can go in and literally just skip through them, close some, and click on others. Now, there's also an added benefit of saving you time. So I know many of you, us included, and myself as well, when I'm composing an email campaign, we spent countless hours, at the details and testing how this looks like on different devices and different email clients. There's a lot of back and forth between the content writer, the person who's implementing the email, and so on. Browser push literally takes a few minutes to come up with the copy and also a few minutes to implement. So there's a lot of time being saved by deploying a browser push message versus, let's say, an email message. And I know some of you are gurus in emails, and they can probably whip out an email in 5 minutes, which is great. But for a lot of people, composing an email takes up a good chunk of their time. So this was a rundown of some of the the reasons why you guys should deploy. There's definitely a lot more. We came up with 18 actually, but decided to compact them into 9. So just to kind of pause and get some, make sure the audio is right and everybody can hear me okay. Is everything good? Please drop a little chat note to confirm so. Brooks, everything's good? Awesome. Tyler, thank you so much. Leo, Andrew, etc., everybody. Love the feedback. All right, so a few mistakes that we've seen companies kind of fall into, or some of the big brands actually do or implement without putting enough thought into it. So one of the mistakes, or the major mistakes, is choosing the incorrect timing. Right? And I showed you in my previous slide how we prompted the user to actually know what they're signing up to, right? So jumping back to my previous slide, and I know it's bad practice to be jumping around, but this is the pre-prompt that's about to show right now. This is extremely important because this is controlled by you. You can set the message already from your system like VBOUT, and you can explain to the user what they're opting into. This one right here. Would you like to get notified, etc. This message is a default message provided by the browser that you have no control over at all. And some companies skip the first step. They prompt the second message, and they don't tell you what you're opting into. And so I immediately block it. And specifically, one of my pet peeves is that it shows up after 1 second of landing in on a page. Right? So you have to think about 2 things. One is the pre-prompt, which you can customize and communicate exactly what someone is opting into. And second, the timing of when do you display this. So you should definitely be giving people enough time to have or establish rapport with your site, with your content, with your product before you display that message to them. Okay. And I highly recommend testing different time frames to display it. And I can jump to VBOUT real quick. I will just show you how this can be controlled. This is a quick look into our interface. Okay. So these are some of the defaults. This is the prompt message, which you can configure, including those call to actions. If somebody say no thanks, what we can do, we can actually add or control the delay here. So let's say display the prompt after 30 seconds. And if somebody says no, I don't want to, I don't want to get the notifications, then you can specify how long to wait before you deploy that message. So you can put in like 5 days, 10-day increment, etc. So all these depending on how aggressive you want to be. And also you can segment them in a system like VBOUT to say, all right, show it only to contacts who has been cookied or have been cookied, or to anonymous who I have no idea who they are. So you can actually segment who to show this message for. Okay. Awesome. So this is one of the mistakes. Again, highly emphasize testing different timeframes, but please, whatever you do, do not deploy it in the first second that somebody lands on your site. And also, you can choose the relevant pages. So if you are pushing content and your homepage has no content in it because obviously you might be talking about your product on the homepage, and then you have your resources. You definitely need to choose a destination page where to display that on. And many companies fall into that mistake of displaying it anywhere on the homepage and other pages, which is not advisable. The other problem is displaying it too frequently, which almost builds up on my first point, is that you either are prompting users frequently to opt into your messages, which is a bad practice, or if you're sending way too many browser push notifications. I remember last year during the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, I signed up to one site which literally would send me about 10 different articles and references per day, which was way too much. So just be mindful that although it's a cool way to reach somebody, do not take advantage, over advantage, and abuse it. So you be respectful of your subscribers' time. The second is not using the proper, or the third in this case, not using the proper call to action. And obviously, as marketers, the importance of putting the right call to action, the right verbiage, the right button, even the right emoji, right? So this is definitely something to focus on, is being mindful of the call to actions you have and use the proper wording. And many companies, I couldn't find an example here, but many times I will get something with the weird call to action like click or click here, which is not relevant to us. Maybe something like take advantage of this offer, which can be one button, or reserve a spot, something more meaningful to the actual message. The fourth no-no, I would say, is not taking advantage of personalization. And when I say personalization is once you've collected and you've gathered the permission from your contacts, and let's say you're targeting them with an offer, you have the ability, especially using a system like VBOUT, to actually tell the system to who to deliver the message. So I can tell VBOUT, deliver this browser push notification to the people who visited my pricing page. Because if someone only came to my blog and that's all they're interested in, if I'm going to send them a browser push explaining or pushing an offer, let's say, it's going to be completely irrelevant to them, right? So personalization is available in most of the major browser push systems, obviously including VBOUT, and make it relevant to the person you're targeting. Also, if you were targeting your contacts, we allow you to personalize them by inputting someone's name within that browser push. So this could be maybe like a happy birthday reminder, or something that's relevant to an event, a transaction. You can literally just put in like a reference to the order. You can put in someone's name. You can put, the offer's name, and so on. So yeah, that kind of builds up on it. I think I covered this along with my previous slide. Being able to segment your users and target, your contacts versus non-contacts. That's totally something that we preach on. So these were the actual no-nos. We listed 5 of them, and I'm pretty sure some of you guys can come up with more. If anybody has things to add, by the way, please share it with us. We can build up a little bit on the slide after the session is over. All right. Quick pause before we jump into the use cases, guys. Anybody has any audio issues? Can everybody hear? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. I always like to stop for feedback, just to avoid, me talking to myself and you guys not hearing. Thank you. All right, so here are some of the use cases that we thought of. One of them is an educational workflow, and actually we came up some great examples yesterday. So many companies and marketers, they use the content marketing strategy to kind of push different pieces of content to end users, educate them about the specific topic, and then eventually push in the 6th or the 7th email to be like a soft sell or a hard sell, right? Or perhaps all you're doing is just pushing your if you're a content marketer and you want to push out the latest blog post. So for one way to use it is just for educational purposes, where all you're doing is sending awesome content you and your team have put together. And you can drip it. So for instance, you can say when somebody's opt-in for browser push, day one, send them the first browser push with that first piece of content. The second can, 3 days later, send them a follow-up browser push with the second piece of content. In this case, it's a link to the content. Maybe you're a SaaS platform, and what you want to do is send onboarding videos and tutorials. You can definitely do that as well by dripping that content over the course of X days. So educational onboarding, definitely a great use case for it. And you guys will probably see there's a parallel between your traditional email usage of how you use email drips to how you can use your browser push drip. Another way to use it, especially if you're an e-commerce company, is retargeting your customers if they've left something in the shopping cart. If you want to do a product upsell, so somebody bought something, you can send them a follow-up email to either take advantage of an offer, or you can even send them a reminder that they need to, let's say, refill their shampoo supply after 30 days. And again, you can do this via email. However, this delivery mechanism can either work in tangent with your email. It can be delivered at the same time as the email gets delivered. And you can even segment to say, if somebody opens the email, don't send them this web push, right? Or the other way around. So you can literally just segment your path or your customer's path according to their engagement with other messages like email, SMS, and browser push. All right. Now there's also the instant feedback collection, and this is I think this is actually, I'm sorry, this is a transactional. So as far as a transactional, you probably use it in email, an order fulfilled, an order has been shipped. This is great for a lot of companies who want to use this mechanism to kind of replace the transactional emails like SendGrid, if you're using them, or even you have your own built-in SMTP. Leverage this technology and get the feedback. Are people engaging with this to maybe check on the order status? Are they actually clicking on the welcome message to verify their account if they signed up to a SaaS platform? So these are some creative ways to use it as a transactional means. And it can also serve as a double opt-in. So if you send them the first message, if they click it, you put them in the bucket of confirmed and so on. Okay. And then finally, you have the instant feedback collection. So technically what you can do here is, here's a trick. I know this message maybe, or this image doesn't show it, but you can have two thumbs, one thumbs up, one thumbs down. And you can literally tell people, how was your experience with us? And they could engage with this. If they click on the first call to action, thumbs down, you can direct them to, let's say, a form where they could fill it out and submit feedback. If they click thumbs up, you can send them to a review website where you can drive them to leave you a review. Maybe you can drive them even to your Facebook page to follow you on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it may be. So you can get creative with the call to actions, but using it at an instant feedback collection, leaving review on a product they've purchased and so on is definitely another way to use it. Yeah, so this is kind of our if you want deep dive into browser push notifications. What I'll do right now is I'll take some questions. If anybody has a question, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer. So here's what I'll do next. I will jump in and show you how this can be set up on VBOUT, how easy it is and how we've built it so you can deploy it in just a matter of minutes. If anybody's interested in a follow-up call with either our technical support or our sales success managers, please do so. I'm going to put the link to book a meeting directly with our success managers. Right. So yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into how VBOUT works. Obviously, you have all the main functionalities from email to automation, social media, etc. But to set up browser push in our case, you just go into your settings. You go to your website. So you can add all your different properties here per se, and then just create your browser push setting. Okay. So here you have, for instance, your notification defaults. I think I went through this a little bit, which can be changed later. So you can swap your title, you can swap your logo once you start composing these messages for the journey. Okay. The second piece is the design. So for us, we chose something like this. Would you like to get notified of the latest marketing automation news and technology updates? The pop-up settings, this is the pages we're triggering it on. And also we have the integration piece, which is one file that needs to be uploaded to your website. So this is like a root upload option. Okay. So once you do that, the system will start collecting, and then all the analytics for the browser push will be displayed on the system. So you can literally see how many people prompted, how many people expired, and how many people blocked that prompt. So the system is tracking all these different activities on the system, the time, the device. And if you click on these devices, it can take you to the full history of this user. Where did they come from? If they subscribe to browser push, so you guys can see here, this is the timeline of this user. They opted in as a subscriber. And I can even just dive a little bit deeper into some of their details. Okay. So technically speaking, like all this data is aggregated into the user timeline. And if this person ends up signing up via like a blog post, via my web forms to become a member of VBOUT, then we'll merge their contact together. Okay. There's also a way to send them browser push directly, which is probably not advisable unless it's a contact that you're communicating with. But generally, when you start or when you collect this information, you can use the automation piece to create your workflows. And this is where the fun part actually starts. So let's say I want to create an educational journey here that says when someone joins my my site, fills out a form. In this case, I'm going to do a prompt to my browser push. So these are going to be all my different domains. So this is one. So anybody who approves the permission from my main VBOUT.com website, and mind you, I can add filters to say specific things if they were contacts, and additional fees like e-commerce, which we have coming soon. Or you can pair it with a lead score, right? But that's probably another tutorial. The second piece is adding a delay and then sending the first browser push. Okay. So now I can delay the first welcome message by 5 minutes. And then I can build the logic. So let's say I have 5 pieces of content that I want to drip to whoever signs up. I can use this functionality. So I can add another delay and continue building this accordingly. Right, this is extremely simple. And you specify the exact time frames that you wish to use to deliver this content. So let's say I'm going to deliver it at 8 a.m. And why don't we at the end just notify the sales team if somebody engaged with that last, with a certain amount of messages. So I'm going to do a little bit of a condition at the end. I don't want to bother my my success team with somebody who never interacted with any of these. So I can literally go to the condition that says somebody who have clicked the browser push, which I'm going to choose a template for. Let's say the blog. So anybody who clicked at least one link, I'm going to notify the internal team to follow up with this person. Right. This could be like a quick educational flow with an intent to see who engaged with it and eventually send it to the success manager. So this is one example that you can implement it. And each one of these can be configured from your browser directly. So if I double click on it, I can go in to create those messages. So this is an internal message for me. So this is the thank you flow 1, let's say. As you can see, if you have added multiple domains to the system, you'll see them on the dropdown. This is the title. So thank you. I can put destination URL with the recording. So let's say I've HTTPS. Just made that up right now. But let's say this is where the recording is going to reside. And then the message, thank you for attending our webinar. Click here to download the recording. I can add an emoji, and if I want to personalize this, because my system allows me to do that, I can literally just plug in someone's, let's say, first name in there. And just to be sure that I wasn't collecting like a full name under the wrong shortcode, I'll divide it by 2. And even to take it a little step further, I'm going to make it a proper, so I capitalize the first letter. Okay. And then if I want to have a fallback, I can have a fallback something like friend, in case there was no messages or nothing in the shortcode to display. Okay. Emojis are supported. I can also have like an advanced option here to add a header. And the enable to call to action. Maybe one of them can be, like, and another one can be unlike, right? So clap if you like it, and the other one is, I don't know, thumbs down. And you can see here it shows a shortcode, but once it gets sent, this will be rendering into an actual name or the word friend. Let me just label it as this is actually example, so my team won't mistake this for an actual message. Okay. Find information empty. So I'm just going to leave this out for now. And it's done. So right now, coming back to my journey, I can see that message that I created and apply it to my flow. I can also get a little bit more sophisticated with it. So I can say if someone did not open this message, I'm going to send them a follow-up, right? That's very much supported on VBOUT. And in all these conditions, again, not only do they depend on the engagement with previous messages, you can actually segment them based on destination URLs, how much time they spent, email engagement in case they were contacts, and additional things, maybe like if their device OS is actually an iPhone. Okay. So jumping to the analytics piece, and I'll probably end on analytics. To access my flow, or actually the data that the engagement flow of each user, I can just look at the analytics, and this will tell me the messages. So there's 2 links. I can see the recipients, and I can see if they engage with the messages, if they clicked on them, etc. And just a high level kind of how many sent and how many clicks, if there are any, and how many failed. So this is pretty accurate overall. All this data will be available for also dashboard reporting. So you can report on this template and have it emailed to you on your frequency that you like.